Yeah.
I gotta study this. Okay, good evening. It is 6:00 PM. This is the regular business meeting of the Smithfield Township Board of Supervisors. Please join me in reciting the pledge of allegiance. I gotta study this. Okay, good evening. It is 6:00.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Members present include myself, Chair Jacob Pride, Vice Chair Robert Lovenheim, Supervisor Michael Albert is excused, Township Manager Julia Hylika, Administrative Coordinator Diana Salvi, Engineer John Tressler, and Solicitor Ron Karasak is present with us via Zoom. First order of business is the consideration of the minutes of the April 10th, 2024 regular meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Announcements, there was no standing executive session today. As all three supervisors could not be present and it was not urgent. Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission have another joint session on May 15th at 5 PM here to discuss zoning amendments, definitions. Spring leaf pickup is already underway and it runs until Friday, the 26th. And spring cleanup is from May 15th through 18th at 8 AM or 8 AM through 5 PM here at the Municipal Center. So you can start prepping for that. Next, we have our bills and obligations. We have a bill pack today that is $187,298.71. The only thing different than usual is a truck payment for a vehicle we took delivery for in 2022. Do I hear a motion on the bills?
Motion to approve the bills.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll proceed to the solicitor's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm on Zoom because again, I have a conflict with the Bangor Zoning Board. They meet, every time the moon goes around the sun on the fourth year of the calendar or whatever, but the last fourth Thursdays they've met. So I apologize. And I'm here till about 6:20 today because they've also scheduled a meeting for 6:30. In any event, my report is basically that I attended two township supervisors meetings, the fourth Thursday in March by Zoom, like I am this evening, along with the Township Planning Commission meeting. I had also attended the public hearing for the March public hearing on the Healthy Minds matter. And I attended the public comment period hearing, if you will, on the Mountain Manor matter. I also have recently completed the brief for the township, outlining the township's position on the Mountain Manor matter. And I might have done some additional work on the Osgun merger joinder deed matter based upon some issues that may have been raised by our township engineer. And other than the usual emails, et cetera, that's pretty much what's happened over the last month or so.
Thank you. Anything? Okay, John?
I don't have a lot to report. I think we did wrap up the Osgon matter, in sort of a different way in which it was headed originally. And we've been doing some inspection out on Airstrip Road as things are continued to be going on out there. And other than that, just I think one or two reviews we're looking at right now, but other than that, normal business.
Right. Do we have an idea when that Airstrip Road is supposed to be repaved?
They are trying hard. I think they want to pave it next month, but we've got a couple drainage issues that we're trying to take care of.
Opening Bygone, or they're having ribbon cutting at least for Bygone's expansion on May 9th. There's no way they're gonna.
I don't think they're gonna have it by then,
No.
and they're working on the one infiltration basin right now for the road. I know that's underway. They were doing some work in the shoulder. Where they were replacing a pipe. They hit a wet spot there. We told them how to repair that. So I know they're working hard, but
Is that the reason the road hasn't been paved yet?
well, part of the reason is the blacktop plants are just going to open up shortly. I mean, they're just opening up this month. So, but they're still not quite ready for blacktop.
Well, thank you. Okay.
Mr.
board-
Chair, may I interrupt for a moment?
Sure, go ahead.
I just want to remind the board, I know I've been getting emails on these, I just don't remember when. The township has to pay for the taking that they used some time ago for either the right of way or the other areas on Airstrip Road. So that's got to be on the list somewhere to pay those people the fair market value as per the report we'd received probably months ago.
We have an invoice, Julia?
I don't know. I'll need to look into this a little bit.
Okay.
Ron, we'll touch base tomorrow if that's okay.
Okay, that is perfectly okay, no problem. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Robert, did you want to note anything for the Board of Supervisors report? Come on, raise your hand. Right now.
My question for the engineer. That was a swamp, or it still is a swamp up there. Did they get a variance to put that warehouse up there?
No, well, I shouldn't say no. I don't remember if they did, but they didn't get any relief because of wetlands. They brought in a land development plan. They did identify the wetlands. I believe a portion of the building was a small portion, just a corner, was in one of the outer buffers, and they requested and received relief for that, but it was within the guidelines of the ordinance. You're allowed to disturb up to 40%, but the majority of the building was on upland ground.
We can always look back, right? That approval was in November of 2019, so we can check back. Okay. The only thing I wanted to note under my report was that at our May 8th meeting, we anticipate allocations for fire and EMS for the revenue from that tax. There's still ongoing discussions on resolutions, but I think that we, based on the joint sessions we've had with a number of our neighboring municipalities, we have more or less determined where we're going to be at. So I just wanted to note that. Robert, did you have anything?
Ron, since you're speaking of the airport, I just had a question. We have another situation on Route 447 where there's a small area that the school board or the ESASD supposedly gave to PennDOT. This is several years ago, but no one can find the paperwork either here or at the school district. What do we do in that case where PennDOT is saying they must have this conveyed to them and they can't find any paperwork? If no one can find it, what do we do?
Well, if PennDOT is saying that it needs to be conveyed to them, and it had been owned by the township or by someone else, just refresh my recollection there as you were going through the back.
The school district.
The school district.
Gave them-
I suppose we can do a deed for maybe is what might be called unceded lands, etc. But we have to see what the school district has to say. Did they say they have anything, or did they say they have nothing?
So
If
far,
we know.
they've had nothing, and it's such a small piece of land. It's of no value to them for anything. It's just, I think PennDOT wanting to make sure that with the construction of the sewer there or whatever they're going to do, that they have the rights completed and perfected.
Again, there can be a condemnation of that piece of property. If necessary, the problem is, who do we serve? You have to serve the owner, and that may be an issue, but I think we can resolve it. I don't think it's that much of an issue, except that we may have to do a little tedious research as to how we can get to see who we serve. So,
Ron, if you don't mind holding off on that research, I'm actually still digging through township files looking for that. So until I conclude my search, hopefully I can find it yet. But hold off until you hear from me if that's okay.
that's okay. And I really didn't mean I would be doing that research. I meant more like either an abstract company or a title company or someone that does title searches to see if they can somehow find that piece of land through maybe adjoining properties, etc. So obviously, if I need to do something, I will, but generally I try not to spend township money unless I have to. So it wasn't my intent to do any research yet.
Perfect. All right. Next is the consent agenda, which we have two items. One is the approval for the Northeast Masonry quote for the Pocono Mountain Visitors Bureau grant, 50% of which is reimbursable, which is $11,610. And that is for excavation and the placement of concrete and then new grills for Minnesink and Waterfront Parks. The old ones have long since rusted and we wanted to replace those. The next is the approval of $90 ad for the Retired and Service Volunteer Program of Monroe County, which supports seniors and retirees, which we've historically done. Do I hear a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, I will second. Any questions? All in favor?
All right,
Aye. Next is what everybody is waiting for, the public hearing on draft ordinance number 248, the nuisance ordinance. For the record, we'll consider this entered at 6:11 p.m. We just have to establish that we advertised accordingly, and then we'll take public comment. Ron, I believe the ads are physically at your spot, but do you have them offhand?
Yes, I do. I have the ad that was put in the Pocono Record, and that would have been on April 16, and that was run. I also gave to the Pocono Record, or forwarded to the Pocono Record, a copy of the ordinance, not for advertisement, but for review by anyone who may want to have to review the ordinance. So that's done. And again, this is a standalone ordinance. It's not a zoning ordinance or a subdivision ordinance. So it doesn't require the necessary advertising twice a week or review by the Monroe County Planning Commission. Although this was reviewed by our Township Planning Commission. So I believe all of the legal procedural requirements are in place.
Perfect. Thank you. We will now open the floor to public comment. If you'd like to speak, please come up to our podium here and you will be on the record for your comments. Anybody?
Well, I just had a couple of questions about, your name, uncover. Lynn Shore.
You can, I think a lot of folks here have expressed certainly their concerns, probably a lot.
Well, I don't have a concern with
No,
that. I'm just asking, how long is the appeal period if someone appeals a violation for this ordinance? Like how many days do they have? Do you know that?
Let's see. I don't know.
Let me check the ordinance section, Mr. Chair.
We had an accompanying resolution that spells out the fines, which progress in nature as issues do.
All right, so according to the enforcement section of the ordinance found on page 10, section 10-209, the chapter is enforced by the enforcement officer of the township as a private criminal proceeding filed by a complaint with the district judge. So there is no time limit to appeal, if you will. Once a private criminal proceeding is filed, then the matter proceeds through the criminal system, and there would be a hearing scheduled by the district judge, and the matter proceed in that fashion. And in the event the person is found to be in violation, the magistrate can fine up to an amount not to exceed $1,000, along with cost, and in default of payment of fines and costs, there can be imprisonment for not more than 90 days. And each day a violation continues as a separate offense. So there is no appeal period. It's up to the enforcement officer to file a complaint, and then the matter proceeds in that fashion.
All right.
Now, they're free to appeal, that determination,
Mhm.
but that would restart the matter and it goes to court of common pleas.
Okay, all right. So
If
if-
it would be found guilty before the district judge, then they could also appeal that matter to the common pleas for another hearing.
So if they are going to appeal it, but they're still continuing to do the well, think of the dirt bikes to run, can they be fined every day even if they're appealing it?
Yes.
Oh, they
Yeah.
can, okay. All right, well, that's good. I just wanted
The-
to.
Unless they file for a stay through the court system and say that we want this stayed or whatever, but short of a stay, every day is a separate violation, and of course it's up to the enforcement officer to make sure that's what's stated in the paperwork.
And to be clear, once we adopt ordinance 248, we're going to consider resolution 549, which adds the fines to the fee schedule. The first violation in the calendar year is $50, the second is $250, and the third and subsequent violations in a calendar year are $500. So we certainly expect it's going to be a deterrent when it comes to that.
I have a question,
Sure, go ahead.
Tammy Booth. So wasn't there an app or something you said everyone should download on their phone? Or something?
Right, I mean,
That was
certainly,
a decibel app, wasn't it?
Right.
It was one example of an app that we
Yeah,
found.
there's
I
multiple.
believe the one that was referenced was NIOSH. It's got a blue background with a white bolded end.
it's NIOSH,
Yes.
NIOSH,
yes.
okay, what was the other question? So. Is there a phone number on weekends that we can notify somebody if there's infraction here, that there's,
Sure. Well, the township number is the one that you're gonna wanna call.
and
So-
someone will be available? Like,
It's not gonna
isn't
be
the
like the
township
state
closed
police.
on the weekend?
Yes,
You can always call me.
well, okay, all right, well, before we get into, personal service there. Yes, but the township, we're not going to go out on a whim every single time because we're trying to curtail abuse of it, because we obviously see how there will be some reasonable people that their neighbors just don't like them versus what you're going through. And so we're gonna be maintaining, pretty accurate monitoring of the system.
Okay,
Just
And then feel-
nothing is happening, so I don't think you guys are monitoring pretty well. If they, since the court happened, you guys not doing nothing about it.
I'm gonna have to, sir, I'm gonna have to ask, if you can stand up here and put your name on the record,
Sure.
that way we have your comment.
Yes. Good morning, lad. So what I wanna say is that since the court happened,
Can you say your name for the record?
yes, my name is Jan Belinsky. And I live very close to the gym booth. And what I wanna say is that since the court day happened, they've been riding every single day. So I just don't understand that if township doesn't do nothing about it. As of, I know now that if you are in a court, they still allow to write?
No, but so we don't have anything to do with that procedure. So by law, they appealed the zoning officer's determination because the township stands by its conclusion that it's an illegal business.
Okay.
But they appealed that to the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board is gonna make their determination. They're the final arbiter of that. And then if we disagree with their interpretation or someone else does, they're
Mhm.
free to appeal that. So this is slightly different. You're afforded a lot more rights when it comes to your land use than you are a continuing criminal infraction.
So, but so the question now for you is that, so even if they are middle of the court or final decision, they still allowed to write?
Yes.
So he's the gentleman that we're gonna be calling every day?
Well, no, you can call the township to file.
But the township
complaints.
is not in a weekend. Most of the people, they work Monday to Friday.
Sure.
So we kind of like, if we are not home, somehow we don't hear that, but then Saturday, Sunday come and then it's nonstop from 9 to 5. So how, I mean, Are we
We-
gonna be
We
like,
will have procedures in place for that, but like I said, that gets into sources and methods of. You know, how an investigation is gonna be conducted, so I'm not at liberty to get into finer detail on exactly how. But no, we don't have the right to tell them not to operate. Once we've already made that determination, once they appeal, they have the right, they're. Essentially, like in any criminal proceeding, they're presumed innocent until proven guilty, so ultimately the zoning hearing board has to make that decision. If it were up to us, we would stop, but we don't have unilateral authority to do that.
so you as a township don't have authority to stop them for a time being until you get the final decision?
Correct,
So you cannot? You
Not-
cannot stop them?
correct.
Um,
And even so, we don't have that capability. Nowhere in the township code are we the ones who are going to, chain up the place. Ultimately, if they defy a court order, then they're facing contempt, and that's when law enforcement gets involved. Typically, it doesn't get that far.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm looking at this app. I don't know how to use it yet, but as I said, you can always call me on weekends. Just remember, I'm an angry person.
Okay, Christine.
I have questions and comments.
Public comment.
I don't envy you at all trying to figure this out. I really,
I
but,
appreciate it.
I'm really concerned that this does not. I don't think this is the document that these people are really hoping it is. Not knowing how it's gonna be enforced, like, I think that kind of goes hand in hand with this, I think.
I mean, we have a pretty clear idea of how it's gonna be enforced. I understand that there are questions about it, but it's the same as any other code enforcement policy. So complaints
This-
filed, goes to the judge.
Mr. Chair, I apologize, but I have to jump off and go to another meeting. If there are questions or issues that cannot be answered or cannot be addressed, and I need to do that, I'm certainly going to be available for the next meeting if you would want to reschedule it for that time if necessary.
No problem. Thank you, Ron.
All right, thank you, and I apologize again. When meetings were Tuesday or Thursdays, it worked out okay. Wednesdays have not been so good, but hasn't been too bad over the years. All right, thank you very much. Everyone have a good evening.
Yeah, so no, like I said, they're gonna be enforced the same way any other current code is, except that appeal period before the zoning hearing board doesn't exist. So that gives us, that this is essentially like a speeding ticket. So it's going to be more readily considered by the court, and we anticipated, going well. Obviously, there's gonna be kinks, but
So a couple of inconsistencies. Your definitions, weekday, begins at 7. And ends at Friday at 6. Weekends, begins 6 PM on Friday and Monday morning at 7. When you jump over to page 8, paragraphs A, B, and C, now we're looking at 8 and 8 instead of 7 and 6. That's a very, it seems not right to me, but maybe I'm missing something.
Oh, wait, it's during the week, it's 8 to 8, isn't it?
So, in the definitions, a weekday is defined as any day beginning on Monday at 7 AM and ending the following Friday at 6 PM, and then weekends are, I'm losing my order here. They start on Friday at 6 and end on Monday at 7
Well, that's-
AM.
That's defining the weekend and the days, but the ordinance says that the decibel level is from what, 8 to 8, isn't it?
8 to 8.
So that's within the day. That's the time when the decibel level would be counted. I think what, 65? I can't even remember. 55.
They're low. Okay, so. Okay, it's confusing. I don't know why, but it's confusing. Back on page 8, A, B, and C,
power tools, starting at 8 a.m. Landscaping, starting at 8 a.m. I see that being very, disruptive to, the landscapers who are trying to beat the heat in July. They want to be there at 6, so they can be done at noon before their guys are baking in the
I
sun.
mean, generally, you're gonna be able to meet the requirements, so I mean, it's that 8 to 8, but. You can do it beforehand as long as you meet those limits otherwise.
The sound limits.
Yes.
Well, you can't because they're so low. A lawnmower is 90 decibels. So just
Maybe right next to it,
any time of day.
maybe
you're
right
gonna
next
be-
to it, Christine, but. You know, when you're measuring at the lot line, that's a lot different.
I
Like, I mean, you
depending on the
talking-
size of the person.
Well, yeah, but like
you know.
you're talking right now is, Robert, you have the app, right? You measure what this conversation is at, like, I think that,
If I could get the app to work.
It's running about 50 decibels. I'm running it right now.
Right, and that is a accurate, normal conversation typically
Yeah.
is 50 decibels.
Sure.
Um,
I'm just saying from the lot line, like if he were standing all the way, you know, at the stairway. You know, that the reading's gonna be,
understood, yeah, I get it, but different properties have different sizes and different boundaries, and so I just see opportunity for abuse and pettiness and,
well, that's why we're
between-
not going to, you know, run out like an emergency every single time, you know.
Well,
We
that'd
have-
be, but then, if you're not gonna run out every single time, then where's the consistency on reporting
Yeah,
infractions?
there is a
You
distinction.
know what I mean? If
There's-
you're on the other end, how do you know whether or not it's a real infraction or not? You
I think
don't.
the reasonable knowledge of the people that are enforcing it are, I mean. That, for example, this happens all the time with fire and EMS. There are routine, you know, repeat offenders.
Sure.
There's a couple in Smithfield. So that's why we passed our false or nuisance alarm fees.
Mhm,
I mean. They don't respond to those calls,
mhm,
you know, so it's the same level of discretion that we have.
mhm.
So I don't necessarily find it to be inconsistent, it's just if someone if someone hates my neighbor. I don't get that annoyed, he launches fireworks all the time, loves it, they're not even the ones that light up,
Mhm.
they're just, you know, bottle rockets. If I really hated my neighbor, I would call every day. But eventually, the people that get that information, they're going to realize whether or not it's an actual violation or if it's a neighborhood dispute. And I think that, you know, that's the discretion that we're afforded.
If you were to call based on that, if you were to call,
Yeah.
because it happens all the time. And you call, and you call, and you call, then you would be marked as a nuisance reporter, wouldn't you? Based on that?
They
You know what
would,
I'm
they would,
saying?
I understand that. There's not an ordinance for like a particular, you know, person that will do that, but sure. That's how we're gonna know internally.
Notice required on page 10.
Yeah.
That seems to be, and again, I could be wrong, but it seems to me that it's the same process that got these people here in the first place, that there's a long waiting process, violations, and there's a, prior to filing the fine, you have to mail a notice to the owner, and then they have to receive it for the time to start. So it just doesn't seem. It seems like it's no different than not being able to enforce.
I mean,
And
and why you
improperly-
have to serve people no
Right,
matter what. At the end of the day, if someone, you know, escapes to Florida or something, we can hire a process, something like that, but that's the same requirement with any sort of, you know, litigation or,
right,
you know, criminal
I think
proceedings.
one thing you're missing is this, that up till now, much of the frustration is that we were trying to enforce things through zoning ordinances.
right,
And the zoning ordinance is what takes the time, the 30 days, the filing or not filing with a zoning hearing board and so forth. This is a standalone ordinance in another chapter, which is a called nuisances. So we don't have to go through that process. But it's also, like anything here, based on complaints. If there's no complaint, there's no problem. If there's a complaint, then we go out and look at it. And sometimes it is between neighbors, sometimes it can be solved without having to cite somebody. For the last 2 years, I've tried to find ways where there are, let's say, disagreements and irritants, to see if there's a way just to get the situation solved by not doing anything that we have to do here, just talking to people. The reason we're here is that hasn't worked in several situations.
Right.
So we finally come to this, and it may not be perfect. We can always adjust it later, but at least it's something. And at least we're saying, okay, now we have the official reason to tell you that if you don't cease this, we have the power to enforce fines against you and take you to court. That's a big difference.
Mhm.
And if we find that there needs to be changes to it, we change that part of the zoning ordinance, so that even the advertising period is shorter. There's different things that we can do over time as it evolves.
Mhm.
I mean, not a lot of municipalities in our county even have this. But a bunch of places are starting to adopt it, because since everyone's been home a little bit more the last few years, starting to see that type of thing skyrocket.
Mhm. I still think I would like to just go back to the tables one more time. I just think that the decibel levels are insanely low. 60 decibels is an electric toothbrush. 70 decibels is the equivalent of a dishwasher. So even on the property line, I don't find a dishwasher to be disruptive. And we're living, breathing creatures here. We make noise.
But as Guy pointed out, that's standing next to it. That's not hearing it. And the next person, not hearing a dryer in somebody's kitchen that's going, and there's a vent that comes out and there's some noise, but it's certainly not at 60 decibels when it gets to the property next door.
Right. So somebody mowing their lawn with a lawnmower at 90 decibels at the property line could very easily be 65 or 60 decibels, and they'd be in a violation.
But remember, your neighbor mows their lawn. You know they're gonna be doing it for an hour, let's say, or half an hour. Are you gonna complain about that? It happens every Sunday.
I wouldn't, but I just think that if you're gonna put something on paper, make it realistic. And
I went through this with
Well,
you.
may I? It's not, because under section 207B, landscaping for personal uses is allowed. So we do have exceptions if you're.
is that in here or?
Yeah,
Yeah.
page 9 is where we keep keep the exceptions. So if you're, trying to blow snow when it's 3 a.m. and you have to get out for a 5 a.m. job, you're allowed to run your snow blower. That is the concept, that you're allowed to do things for personal use on your property,
Mhm.
but we don't want people to. I personally think, unless there's a tree in your house, that it would be unfair to start, taking a chainsaw. I'll call somebody in and say, hey, I need you here at 5 a.m. Please chop up this tree.
Right.
But this discussion is one of the reasons we were talking with Eric Koopman. No other township or municipality in all of Monroe County has adopted anything like this, because they're difficult to.
It's very
enforce.
difficult. I can understand why,
And
sure.
It's hard no matter where you go, whether it's the plainly audible side, the decibel side, the mixed version that we've tried to adopt. It's very difficult.
Our friends in Middle Smithfield have a property maintenance ordinance. I have yet to see Mike Dwyer out there with a ruler in anyone's yard, but I know it's help.
Mhm.
That's the intent. It's not gonna fix everything, but.
Mhm.
And these decibel levels were researched both by the planning commission and by us. They're not perfect. I argued for them to be higher because I thought they were a little
It
low.
was argued several
But-
times to be higher than this.
Other people
Yeah,
argued they should be lower. So
Right.
it's kind of a compromise.
right,
All we can do is see how it works.
right. And let's say this gets enacted and it doesn't work. What are your what are the parameters on correcting it?
Revised ordinance.
Mhm.
So just once, you have to advertise 7 days out.
Mhm.
So if we change it, that would be how it would be done.
Mhm. And that would just be a whole nother process, like,
Right, but I mean, it depends on the nature of the change too. You know, if we decide that for some reason 70 or 75 decibels is better. You know, or if we think it should be tied to different zones or something, you know, sure, that'll be a more involved process. But if it's changing the nature of service or something like that, it won't take that long.
mhm.
I mean, we're open, we've changed a lot of ordinances, we're open to, you know, making sure that they're correct.
Yeah. So somebody having their lawn cut at 6 AM by their lawn service company is not okay, right? Like, am I understanding that
Correct.
correctly, or was I already corrected on that and I just don't remember?
No, you're correct, because it specifically mentions,
Under 206, section B,
yeah,
power tools, landscaping and or yard maintenance.
Okay, yeah,
Used by
that's,
non-residential operators.
yeah. Okay. That and the decibel levels are probably my biggest beef with this, and that would be my official.
and those two are the things that we're probably gonna watch the most.
Right,
We know people will try to, you know, put their neighbors in jail over, you know, their lawnmower. We know people are gonna try that,
yeah,
but the two areas to watch are probably gonna be decibel levels and then that one there. I mean, I take my walks in a commercial corridor most mornings. And a lot of times they start the landscaping or weed whacking or whatever, you know, 7:30,
sure.
you know.
Same
I'll
with
be
the
curious to
construction
see.
trades, you know, the roofers, they don't wanna wait till 8 to start
Sure.
because it's.
But in those cases, I think a lot of times they're just doing their prep anyway and don't often start until 8 anyway.
Mhm.
So I think that, you know, we'll see how that plays out. We'll keep track of things like this. Certainly, you know, everything's gonna say, what time was your complaint and, you know, when did this happen? What was it? So that's all data that we can quantify and then, you know, maybe 6 months from here, see how it goes. I
And
would guess that the most complaints are gonna be in the next 6 months anyway, because once snow falls, you know, you have to really like it cold to be, you know, this much of a jerk.
Yeah, yeah. Are the plans in place on your end to receive these?
Yeah.
That's ready to go. That's
Diana's
ready to
ready.
roll out. Yeah, and how will you advertise how people get in touch with you if they do have a complaint?
Oh, certainly it's gonna be on our social media, our newsletter and our website.
Right,
And,
okay,
you know, we have plenty of printed materials here anyway, too.
right. Okay, so on the website, there'll be, call here on Saturday and Sunday,
Sure.
call this number, and that'll get to a live human.
I mean, it depends on the circumstance.
You're gonna be a busy guy, Robert, with all these light
I'm
meters
volunteering.
and.
I'd like to see this work. I'm volunteering.
Absolutely. And I'm so hopeful that it helps these people with the bike park and but I'm just,
We did pick
concerned
up the
that it's-
Poconos along Craig's Meadow Road over the weekend on Saturday.
Nice.
And you know, we heard that the whole time and I
heard
mean,
what the whole time.
the motocross and without, you know, being vulgar. I think we can all guess how we think the people sounded when they were all driving up the road and what they all had in the back of their pickup,
Mm-hmm,
you know. Not the good neighbors they proclaim, but you know, and that'll catch
Sure.
me some heat on Facebook from a bunch of people that don't live here, but that's the truth. And, you know,
Yeah.
they want to claim, we got a letter today from the American Motorcycle Association, a lobbying letter. In my other job, we get that all the time.
sure.
You know, a lot of times they're great. People, lobbyists have this terrible reputation, but a lot of times they're great because they're educated on the specific topics they talk about.
Mhm.
There are other times in which they represent, you know, whatever they represent, because it's, you know, it's their job and that's fine too. But you also get where it's flagrantly like crap.
Mm-hmm,
Their letter said that our ordinance seems to specifically target outdoor you know, motocross or outdoor motorized recreation. it happened to come up in the scope of all this, but Lynn has been working with us for the better part of 2-3 years about other issues that actually sparked it. So if they want to play victim, it's just gonna fall on deaf ears, with
Right,
us. We've
right,
seen it, we know the people that lived it. So
yeah.
we'll see what happens.
Well, I'll keep my fingers crossed. I hope for their sake that it is something, but.
Do you have any neighbors that make noise? Robert will be there.
Punch him out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have one more question.
Sure.
So I got lost here. If you approve it tonight, when does it go into
I
effect?
think it's 5 days.
Ordinances take.
5 business days,
No, 5 calendar days.
5 calendar days?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
Not that I'm excited, but.
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
You entertain a motion?
Yeah, do I hear a motion to close the hearing?
Motion to close the hearing?
Okay, motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Alright, so the hearing is closed. Do I hear a motion on consideration of to adopt draft ordinance number 248?
Motion to approve draft ordinance 248, finally.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, I'll second. Anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right.
Like I said, the next thing is the consideration of resolution number 549, which imposes the fines, which, as I said before, first violation of calendar year is 50, second violation of calendar year is 250, and third and subsequent violations in the calendar year are 500. I think we have some folks that are gonna be pretty close to that third one pretty soon. So do I hear a motion on resolution number 549?
Motion to approve resolution 549.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, second by myself. Any comment?
I
All,
have a comment, of course.
go ahead. No worries.
I'm sure it's gonna go past 3. Does it keep increasing?
It really can't be on the first 3, because then each individual offense, I mean, it could be up to 1,000 theoretically, but we figured once it hits 500 each time. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. So like if you have 3, like if someone gets to their third one, then 4, 5, 6, 7, they're all gonna be $500.
okay.
So theoretically, if you file that every single day, because it's gonna be true every single day in a case, then that's what they're gonna have to contend with. And then they'll have that many hearings as well before the district judge.
Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and then we have Lisa Kay, who is the Monroe County VSO from Monroe County Veterans Affairs. She wanted to speak with us about something, so Lisa.
decibels sometimes.
Thank you for coming, Lisa.
Yeah, thank you for having me and thank you everyone for being here. This is my little spiel. I'm gonna kind of keep it short and to the point. Not gonna put all the pressure on the township. I pretty much invited myself here, heard the rumblings about what's been going on, but basically I want to just address our offices and our office and what we do. So I have some pamphlets there. I'm just gonna kind of highlight a little bit. If you don't already know, I see a couple familiar faces. Basically just a small bio on myself. I am an Army veteran. I've been in the county for 12 years doing this job. I also serve on the Governor's Advisory Council and the State Veterans Commission. I'll explain a little bit more of that and that role and how that kind of fits into what our county office does as well. So the VA is comprised of 3 entities: the VA Health Administration, the Benefits Administration, and the National Cemetery Administration. We are county employees. We are trained and accredited nationally by the state. So we fall into Department of Military and Veterans Affairs and I'm in 40 Indian Town Gap. And we have complete federal access to the VA and Department of Defense systems. So we pretty much encompass everything under the VA umbrella, and then some. With the county offices, there is a office like ours in every county in Pennsylvania. So everything that we do, Northampton does, Lehigh County, all the way across the state. We operate under county code. So all our county benefits are, similar to your township codes and such. We operate under county code. On the state level, it's under Title 51 law. Again, I'll get into a little bit more of that in a minute. I'm gonna save the state programs for last, because I know that's been a hot topic here. So we're the fourth largest state in the country for veteran population. Here in Pennsylvania, we have close to 800,000 veterans. In our county alone, we have close to 9,000. That number has dwindled almost 3,000 in the last 12 years that I've been doing this. So, you know, that's people moving. I mean, it accounts for a lot of different things. When it comes to, again, I want to just highlight a couple things. On the federal level, pretty much as a service officer, and that what that means is we have that access through the federal VA system, and we're trained for this job. And we can file the compensation benefits, the disability benefits, pension. So for low income veterans that are in nursing homes or in home, getting, receiving a lot of medical expenses, we file those claims through the federal VA. So we're the advocate between veteran and everything under the VA umbrella. Everything from upgrading discharge papers, obtaining your military paperwork. Again, Department of Defense graciously gives us those access to those records after about 80,000 hours of training. And then on the county level, we handle all the death claims for the veterans and spouses of veterans. So this isn't just veteran specific, it also encompasses the spouses as well as family members. So pretty much anything post-military, we handle. We also, we're coming up on Memorial Day, all the flags in the cemeteries, we purchase that. So we're, again, as county taxpayers, you're through our budget. We give out those flags to our service organizations, our VFWs, American Legions, and they go ahead and swap out the flags every Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And everything is free. So anytime, I know the VA is hot and heavy on this in marketing, but pension poachers, and that's their definition of people that try to take advantage of veterans and their families by charging. So every service that you have in our office is completely free of charge. You come and ask a question to taking 3 hours and filing a claim, it doesn't matter, you're not paying anything for that. So let me see. So a couple things that we did, because we really haven't done much in this county, to be honest with you, in about a long time, to really show, I guess, appreciation, if you will, as far as benefits go with the vets. So we brought in military share last year. And what that does is, food insecurities are a hot topic, and it's hitting everybody on every level. And our big demographic right now is age 65 and over. So military share, we work with the National Guard and Second Harvest Food Bank out of Bath. And they go ahead and supply food baskets for us. And when I say a basket, I'm not talking a little Easter basket. We're talking a whole month's worth of food. Your staples, your fresh chickens, your frozen eggs, milk, the whole 9 yards. So every month we encourage anybody that needs help with that. There's no financial backing on this one. We don't care. We want everybody to sign up, register with the National Guard. They take your information, make sure you are indeed a veteran. And then once a month out at post 927 in Gilbert. We specifically chose a American Legion post. We thought it was more of a comfortable setting for people to show up to receive food. We don't consider it a handout. It's there for the taking, basically. So that's something that we started with 25 boxes last year, and we're up to like over 53 right now. So that's been a kind of cool thing I've been wanting to bring to this county. I had to find a nonprofit that was going to pretty much take the reign on this, because we have a lot of stuff to do in the office. I mean, we're there just to supervise as needed, but other than that, so Battleborn out of Lehigh Valley, we teamed up with them, and they've been really great about getting us all together. And we did a walk-in service not in our office, in our building. So we're in the admin building, not the courthouse. So if you need to find us, we're on North 6th Street, across from the courthouse, attached to the big parking garage. All right, so I know that the state program, specifically a tax exemption, has been a pretty hot topic. And what really just buzzing through word of mouth, but what really got me was a phone call to my office, asking specific questions on specific veterans and disabilities and their income. And I mean, that's just not gonna ever happen. So we'll just squash that right now. But basically, when it comes to the tax exemptions, when I first started, there was probably, I'd say 185, 200, and that was 12 years ago. Across the county, we're at 510. And the reason being, when I say my office, our office basically is for the veterans. That's the veterans office, but I might say my office just accidentally. We're a team in there. And the whole idea is we got to do our job. I don't consider it a job in that sense because it's basically a calling. It's very, very overwhelming. There's a lot to what we do. But the numbers increasing, really got the commissioner's attention. They're like, another one, you know, what's going on here? I said, we're doing our job, because the more we help these veterans get their benefits that they have earned, not because they got it for free somehow, they've earned this benefit. Then because of that reasoning, these veterans are getting top bill. So that, because of that, they're being able to take advantage of the tax exemption. Again, that tax exemption is a state law under Title 51. And there's a lot of criteria that go behind that. But if you have a veteran under tax exemption, you can safely assure that they are pretty broken, mind, body. They are hurting. They're hurting pretty badly. You might not see it. I mean, you're looking at me, I look hopefully perfectly okay, maybe at times, but I can tell you safely from head to toe, I am in a complete mess. So with that, in Smithfield Township alone, out of the 510, there's 18 that are accounted for that are under tax exemption. By population, I don't really have, what do you have? I don't really know.
8,000.
How many?
8,000.
8,000. All right, so 18 out of 8,000 is who's under the currently under the tax exemption program. And again, you know, getting phone calls or, you know, I got a hold of this letter that was sent to me, you know, about, you know, who qualifies for what, and that all disabled veterans or all veterans should be entitled to this and that. The word entitlement never ever enters my office, because we're not entitled to everything. I didn't sign, raise my right hand to get free healthcare or free broken bones or anything like that. I served my country just like every veteran did. So to come out and say, you know, we earned something, a lot of us are kind of shy about that. We don't really take great pride in the fact that, you know, we're this way. So I just want to, again, any comments, concerns, issues, there's veterans behind you in a grocery store in line, they're sitting next to you in church. You have no idea who a veteran is in your community. And again, there's 9,000 of us in this county, so it counts for a lot of people. But we just, yeah.
Are they service-connected disabilities?
Yes, so service-connected disabilities is, it comes in various levels, whether you were injured in service, you didn't have to serve in combat, and it's peacetime, it doesn't matter. Presumptive conditions, so all the Vietnam vets now, and right now, everything from my time frame forward, we were exposed to chemicals or, you know, oil fields, whatever it is, sand in the sandbox. Then you are presumed to have certain conditions relative to the service. And then you have direct injuries, of course, that happen just because, for whatever reason. So these are service-connected injuries, and there's tight criteria to that. So when we do these claims, you know, VA is not too keen on awarding a lot of benefits. That's our job, is to get the most for that veteran. So that's what we do. So basically, most of these tax exemptions are due to the work from our offices. And I take no, you know, I say credit aside, but we're very proud of that. But don't know if there's any questions, comments, concerns. Tell me now. I mean, it can certainly you know, stay after for a little bit, or like I said, we have the brochures. Feel free to call our office, make an appointment, sit down with us. We certainly encourage, if you have a family member, you know, friend, neighbor, whomever, because there's a lot of people that don't even know we exist, and we just want to make sure that they go over everything, especially for spouses. There's a lot of, you know, prideful veterans that don't want to take advantage of, you know, guys are coming back missing limbs. I don't feel I deserve anything or need anything, but you'd be surprised, because you might not need it now. You might need it later on down the road. But just to even go over things, so you know, free burial in a national cemetery if you served active duty. I mean, there's a lot of things to really look into, and it's very helpful, you know, as you get older.
I'm Joanne Norris, and I just wanted to say that I've worked with Lisa.
Oh,
She's a terrific woman, and she did a lot of work for me and helping my mother.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of us are at that age where we're taking care of our own mother as we're raising our children and grandchildren. So or our parents, I should say. So we're in that kind of bubble, like what's out there to help them with, whether it's financial, you know, these claims are, you know, people don't go in looking for all this money. We're looking for healthcare. We're looking for services and resources. So we also team up with the state. We provide a lot of resources for housing, homelessness. I mean, you know, any other financial problems. We have some grants that we can apply for. We try to do everything we can. If I can't get an answer to somebody, then we find somebody who can get that answer for you. But, you know, so I don't,
I'm on the board of, the Delaware Gap Cemetery, and we have about 150 veterans buried there. So I want to thank you for keeping the flags, looking good.
well, that's not my job, unfortunately. I mean, I appreciate that.
Pride them.
Yeah, so there's other counties throughout the state, even other in, you know, other areas, that you go to. They don't maintain them, so that perpetual care through the cemetery, sometimes, you know, they have to pay for, you know, sometimes the counties will pick up that tab, which can be very expensive. I think we have, oh, don't quote me on this, 9,000 flags we ordered or something. We're just starting to get those out, in this last couple weeks. So we rely heavily on those service organizations and the VFWs, American Legions. They get Boy Scouts and church, you know, youth groups, whoever that can. So certainly if you want to volunteer, you know, hit up those cemeteries or the service organizations, I should say, because they're the ones that put those flags out there. And, you know, it's hard to maintain that throughout the year. Of course, we're in Northeast PA, so the weather and the elements aren't really kind to us at times, but I leave them up year round. Some people take them down, after, you know, say Thanksgiving or something or whatever, but or after on Veterans Day, I should say, but I want them up all the time.
Ours are up all the time, and I do
Yeah.
think the Boy Scouts actually.
Yeah, and anytime if you see something damaged, you see, you know, we also supply the flag holders. And the problem with the cemeteries, unfortunately, is they have the maintenance workers that just want to mow over everything. So there was one cemetery that would have saw on the news, but they actually listened to me. They mangled flag holders, flags laying on the ground, broken sticks, laid up a tree. We counted like something like 75 of these things. So I gave them 2 weeks to clean up for getting a news station in there. So I don't really mess around. I have time for that. Plus it's not, you know, you treat them as you would another human being, because that's what they are, right? They're, you know, in the ground, above ground, it doesn't matter. They're human, they deserve the respect. So, you know, certainly if anybody ever sees anything out of the ordinary, let me know.
And how about the medals where the flag
The
goes
service
into?
medallions.
The medallion?
On the flag holder,
Well, it's part of the flag holder. The flag goes in like behind the
Right.
medallion.
right, so those flag holders, we supply those as well.
Do you supply the medallion?
When you say medallion, you mean the.
The medal, the medal.
Yeah, the medal of the state.
That shows your
And
brand.
shows.
Oh, those, so yes, we also get those, that the federal or the monument services through the VA supplies those. So and that's another thing, so if they say, you don't see a bronze actual military, because those government bronze markers, you know, granite markers and marble, they're all free of charge for veterans, so they don't pay anything for that. But if you see a private one and a veteran's buried there, we can order the medallion for them to mark them as a vet, so that you don't miss putting a flag there.
Okay.
That's pretty important, yeah. So the service organizations, they'll go through and they'll try to like see as best as they can who's a vet and who's not, and make sure that they replace the flag holders too.
Well, some of the ones that we have, the metal, the medallions sitting on top of it's like screwed onto the stand.
Yeah, so that flag holder is one piece. That's one piece.
Well, the ones we have, there's like a stamp, like on a stick that has threads on it.
Mhm.
The medallion spins on that. But unfortunately, sometimes the wind catches it.
Yeah,
And other
so
time, the threads get worn off.
that's
and
due
it's
to, we go with aluminum quality. What we found was that was happening a lot everywhere, so they just spin right off.
Yep.
Yeah, the flag would come out. So between, they used to have the bolt or the nut that screws on there to prevent that from happening. But then COVID happened and everything just went really expensive, and they just did away with that. We were lucky to even get flags the one year, because they said we were too busy making masks that we can't make the flags, and I'm like, wow. Okay, how we gonna approach that? But I worked with a company out of Jersey that year and just got what we needed and got it early enough. But yeah, so those, yeah, again, we also have replacement, what do they call it? Like this, where you can replace the rod. The rod gets replaced and we can screw them in there.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, you might need
Bring 'em in,
to replace.
Bring them in.
Excellent.
We
Thank
make
you.
sure we recycle those. We don't ever throw those away. We recycle those.
Okay,
Same thing with the flags. We'll do the flag running with the Legion.
Okay. awesome, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Still, fine, that's fine. I'm used to it.
Thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
Thank you. You're doing great work. Thank you.
Thank you again. Next, our last item under new business is the consideration to hire a Department of Public Works employee for one of our vacancies. Julia, our township manager, and Chris, our director of public works, interviewed, I think it was 27 people.
We had 27 applicants, we interviewed nine of them.
And so the recommendation was for Mr. Craig Ingracia. And I'll entertain a motion to hire him consistent with the employee handbook and the collective bargaining agreement with Teamster 773. Do I hear a second? I'll make a motion, sorry. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion by myself, second by Mr. Levinheim. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public comment? Go ahead, Martha.
So I'm working on, I wanted to see if you would consider a special event application that I've been working on. I briefly spoke to Robert at the planning commission meeting a couple weeks ago. I did email it in. Basically SPS would like to have a community event on the grounds of Shawnee Playhouse. We'd have some light refreshments. We're working with the brewery to come and have a beer tent there. We'd have some tables for like rum and sale. So that's basically a special event. It's on June 8th from 8 AM to 3 PM. I don't know if you can consider it now, but I'm sort of looking for guidance. The one thing on the application, I wanted to see, if it could be considered to waive the requirement for the insurance certificate and the fee for the application.
We'll definitely waive the fee, the insurance thing I would have to.
Because Michael isn't here, we
Yeah.
placed this tentatively on the
Okay.
May 8th agenda.
Yeah.
so it'll
Okay.
be on
It's on
the-
private property? No, it
It's
isn't.
on the Playhouse property, yeah. So it would be like in their yard, basically everyone would be parking in the parking lot there.
Yeah,
It doesn't
No.
seem like it's our business.
personally, I don't believe in special event permits, but,
I don't know.
Just to kind
we'll-
of cover
we'll get
myself,
that.
I did ask Midge at the Playhouse for a copy of their
Mhm.
insurance certificate, which I did also email to Ken, but he's concerned because the certificate holder said Seven Mountains Media. I haven't had time to look into that, but this is what Midge,
Yeah, Seven
what
Mountains
covers the
Media
Playhouse.
is the radio station.
Okay.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It should be fine, but we're gonna
So I can
approve it,
submit
waive the
that.
fee on May 8th.
Okay. All right, thank you for your consideration.
Yeah, thank you. Sounds like a fun day.
Hopefully,
What did you say, 8 to 3, Martha?
yeah,
And what day is that, Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday, the Playhouse is dark, which is why we have the grounds.
Yeah,
What organization?
Shawnee Preservation Society, we have to pay off the lawyers for the suits we have in the
Why would we
township.
need insurance?
You may as well get.
yeah, I know, I agree. We'll figure that out for
sure.
next meeting. I think there's. It's not needed. Yeah,
Different comment. I need your help. The intersection Gatsby Drive and 209 is still dangerous, still causing accidents, and it's very complicated. Any solutions? And I'm wondering at the township level, can we put a sign there, dangerous intersection, something to let people know that it's a high risk area?
we cannot for a state road.
It's a state road, 209 and
209 is,
Right.
How about Gaffney Drive?
Gapview Drive is a township road. We would have to consult with the director of public works, but that's always been a big issue, that area over
And
there.
nothing's happening
Well,
at all, like it's.
Accidents.
I don't-
Lots.
I guess I don't,
What area of 209 are we talking about?
It's Gatview Drive right before the Shawnee Hill, where
Right.
the beer distributor hits this
Yeah.
blasting light. in the
Rich Hill.
section. But just traffic coming down 209, when they approach Gatview Drive, if there's somebody trying to make a turn, they go right around.
Oh, yeah,
There's no
for sure.
passing lane. And every day, we take our lives in our hands at that intersection and there's nothing to alert drivers. There's no state help, there's no.
Have you
township
reached
help.
out to, well, I mean, state, township help, certainly we'd love to, but it's not our prerogative to do anything with state roads, but we can certainly liaise with our state legislators. They're generally our first point of contact when it comes to PennDOT.
Can I
Can I
go?
make a statement on that? I contacted Rosemary Brown's office and they have a liaison with DOT.
Sure.
And PennDOT said that because it's an intersection of a state with a township, that they're not gonna do anything, that it's a township issue.
Yeah, and we are working on, we are actively working on trying to get a resolution.
Yeah,
I'm
no,
talking to whoever we can.
I know that just trying to make the left turn from Buttermilk onto 209. I don't go when the light turns green. I look both ways
Yeah.
because I've seen so many
Absolutely.
people
It's
run
the
that
benefit
light.
of a light.
Do that at every light.
Yeah. And that's safe because at least you have a green light. But we pull up to 209. And somebody's trying to make a left, they're gonna come and they collide. And people waiting to get on 209. And it's just, it's my life.
I can appreciate that. We'll reach out to PennDOT on our own volition and see where we get there. As on its own, I don't think the sign will do anything, but they need to make some improvements in that corridor anyway. So hopefully that we can get some resolution
There could
there.
be a no passing sign. There's no passing lane there.
Sure.
The big improvement, we hope, we don't know yet, will be the Green Light Go project, which will, they're installing now, which will coordinate all the lights from 80 all the way to Bushkill with a computer system in Harrisburg that adjusts every, I think, 15 seconds,
Right.
24 hours a day. And hopefully that's going to give us some relief by being able to bunch up traffic and move it in ways that both the side streets and the main street can have some relief.
I appreciate
We're
that.
hoping.
It does not address the issue that I'm confronting you with. It helps getting onto 209, but people make turns there. It's a pass, and they're going 40, 50 miles an hour in a 35 zone. And it's really, I'm pleading with you. I will help however I can.
No, I appreciate that. We'll reach out to PennDOT. I mean, if they can tell us, oh, well, you can do this, that would be a sudden change on their end.
Right.
Because
We have made that contact, as my wife said.
Sure, no, I appreciate that, but I'm saying, when we have it, that's gonna be slightly different, more actionable for us directly. Especially because there's municipal services at PennDOT, and then there's, just general folks that work for, general state inquiries. So hopefully from another perspective, maybe we'll get something different.
Can I request a proposal to force you to do something?
So I actually have an email for you right now. We have a form on our website called Request for Action. Please fill it out, and send it to Diana, and that will be a paper trail for us to start.
Okay.
Besides that, I've already got it on my schedule. I'll talk to Chris myself tomorrow. But just please fill that out and create the paper trail for
Okay.
us.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Christine?
Hi, one question, one comment. I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name. Jean, okay. The state office that you contacted was PennDOT?
No, it was Rosemary Brown.
Oh,
And they
Rosemary Brown.
contacted PennDOT.
Can you get that advice in writing? And if Jean got it in writing, then the township could move forward with putting up some signs on 209. But
Well, no,
in the
we
meantime-
can't do that. We can't put any signs on a state road at all. That's entirely PennDOT.
Even if PennDOT said it's up to, didn't they say it was up to the town?
No, we could do something theoretically on Gapview Drive, but we can't do anything where the road cut is or anything where they meet. Because that's entirely within PennDOT's right of way and that's there.
But if PennDOT, it sounded to me like PennDOT said, they, did
I
I?
actually
not-
asked them about putting a light there. And they said that would have to be addressed by the township.
Right, but so it wasn't specifically about signs.
No, it wasn't about signs.
Yeah, a traffic signal, I forget the form for that, but that would be different.
Well, yeah, that would be.
Correct.
Crazy.
I don't, yeah.
Well, and actually, if there was a coordination between the light at the Gateway and Buttermilk Falls, where it was.
Well, that's
Where-
what Robert
There's a
mentioned.
break, yes, you got a
Where,
break.
yeah,
Yeah, that will happen, and that is something that we can, alter in the coordination. Signal Service, they've been pretty active in that whole corridor. They're testing the lights at Gateway like every few weeks. I see them there.
You suggested, to our neighbor, Peter Morey about purchasing the for sale lot where the pizzeria, the default pizzeria is, and turning Gappy Drive so that it would intersect with Buttermilk Falls, the light at Buttermilk Falls.
Oh,
And that would would really, unfortunately, it was apparently a nightmare to get eminent domain or to buy that piece of, buy another example of that type of a situation. But that would resolve the issue and give us one light, but yet we have to buy a piece of property to do that. It
You
is
mean
for
connect the
sale.
intersection
Yeah.
across it? I
Yeah,
think that was supposed to happen because the lights are or were in there for a while. Like it was gonna be built and it never was.
Right.
yeah.
that would be.
do the Shookmans still own that? Do the Shookmans still own that property?
Hmm?
Do the Shookmans still own that property? The old pizzeria?
Yes,
Yeah,
If we could buy that piece of property, it would be a huge improvement. And
They donated.
they want a lot of money, which is probably what they're sitting on.
right. I mean, the only option when, they won't voluntarily do so is eminent domain, and no one in this area wants to hear that, even if it is for something good, but,
yeah, yeah.
So keep that in mind as
Not,
well.
I mean, at the very least, we can start that discussion.
I think it might be worth campaigning through our representatives with PennDOT to see if they would buy that land or buy a piece of it to put the road in that direction.
Less,
I don't know, but we've had several people in here trying to develop that land, and it's really too small for most purposes, so there's not much you can do with it. Who knows?
So what you're saying, you might be able to do something?
And
Yes,
Buttermilk
no,
Falls
we-
is part of that property too, so that'd be a pretty park.
PennDOT could do it and dedicate. a piece of
Buttermilk
to us.
Falls is owned by, I forget her name, and Wyndham.
It's privately owned.
Yeah,
But it's part of the parcel that's for sale.
The ideal would be
That parcel spans to
If-
a line.
if PennDOT would buy that, open it up and make that the entrance to Gaffney Drive, and somebody reopens the pizza place there.
Oh, good, so I can count on action, right?
yeah, no, look, Brett, we're doing everything we can. I work for the state in my other, by day.
Okay.
I know the process for liaising, and, you probably spoke to either Mackenzie or Christine at, Linda Brown's office. And, we do the same type of thing, so I speak their language, I understand how that liaison works, so regardless, something will come of this. I don't know exactly what, but we will have some resolution, something we can do.
Thank you very much.
Even if it's a sign on PennDOT's end, we can say, hey, we don't mind if you put that there, not that they would usually ask. As people can see with some other improvements they made, but we'll certainly keep you in the loop.
I'll be in the loop. Thank you.
And then, you started to touch on this, but you drive on either side, that's a township road, right?
Yes,
So at least on those roads, could there
We're
be
going to
some
have,
signage
we're gonna
saying
have Chris look at it. Yes.
dangerous intersection?
Well, I'm making no
I
promises.
haven't seen that sign anywhere, so I don't think that'll happen. I haven't seen it anywhere in Pennsylvania, but
What, as dangerous intersection?
yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that.
Maybe I'm imagining
I
it,
have.
but I feel like I've seen that.
I have, like, you can buy them on eBay, and they're state signed.
I mean, I can appreciate that, but
Dangerous curves ahead, we know we've seen that, right?
Now, PennDOT,
they
PennDOT
have approved.
publishes regulatory signs that are permitted.
Right.
If that is a permitted sign, then yes, it could be put up, but if it's not permitted, whether you can get it on eBay or not, you can't.
Also, do not pass on shoulder. That's a state sign.
It may
Yes,
be,
it
I don't
Yes,
have it
that-
memorized, there's probably 100 or more
Yeah.
Yeah.
of their signs that are
No, it's
formidable,
definitely,
but it must meet their criteria.
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll
On
speak to.
611 by the light, by the old, across from the dealership, across from Gray Chevrolet. There's a do not use the shoulder sign. I don't know the exact.
Yeah,
verbiage,
for
but-
sure,
So that one definitely exists.
yes. There's a whole publication from PennDOT, like John said, that has all their signs.
Let's do something.
I think we've agreed on that one for like the last 15 minutes, but,
New subject,
Okay,
new subject.
okay.
The Economic Development Committee was on the agenda for like months and months, and I noticed it fell off about a month ago. Is that something that y'all have stopped thinking?
No,
might be-
Michael just hasn't met with James Breckbeal yet from
Okay.
Middle Smithfield.
All
So I
right.
just didn't want to put it on to have it motion
Have
to
it-
table every
okay.
single time.
All right, got it, thank you.
Go ahead, Tim.
I'm just curious, what is the involvement? This is for the joint session between the 3 townships and the borough of Water Gap
Sure.
for the EMS tax. What involvement does the Water Gap have in this joint committee?
I
Because
wasn't-
I asked at the meeting at the borough.
Uh-huh.
And they're not getting involved. We already pay an emergency tax.
Yeah, no, I don't think that they've been active in the last few. They were active with the joint study. But I don't recall any meeting that I went to that Delaware Water Gap was at, because it's already had both fire and EMS tax already.
There was someone on at the last joint meeting at Middle Smithfield.
It was probably Howard.
Howard
And
was
he's the
on.
chief of the fire department, and he's also on council, and I do not think he should be representing council.
I don't know if he did that. I think he spoke as five.
I'm just saying, he should not represent both.
Well, yeah, typically you wouldn't, so, but I don't know, I can't really speak to it, but.
Because it's on the agenda that says that, a joint work, this is from March 13th, work session agenda. A joint work session with Middle Smithfield Township, Price Township, and Delaware Borough Council was held on Wednesday, March 13th, 2024 at 11 a.m.
Correct. I mean, what I can say is that the nature of the advertising of those meetings is that anyone that could potentially be there would be advertised, especially if there's a quorum. That way it doesn't run afoul of the sunshine law. But if they didn't have members there speaking on council's behalf, then.
Well, I just don't know why Water Gap is even on this committee, this joint committee.
They were in the study. That's what they.
Correct.
Okay.
So we discussed results of the study. And I think that's been mostly where their involvement, stopped after that.
All right, as long as we're not going after a joint committee tax that we're already paying in Water Gap.
Everyone already, we enacted one, Christ did, Middle Smithfield did.
Yeah, I thought you guys had a tax as well, no?
That's about it.
No, we just did this last go around, yes.
So essentially you were just budgeting it in with the budget then before the tax.
Correct, the allotment is different.
Yeah,
It's more now because the difference in who pays a cable and who doesn't, there's a substantial difference in that. But no, that the reason why those sessions have occurred is because folks wanted to hear one from the mutual aid folks around. So that's why like Lehman Township, EMS, and some other folks have been around. Bushkill Fire serves part of Middle Smithfield Township. So it's just kind of been have everyone in the region available to discuss uptime, downtime, all that type of thing. And then Middle Smithfield proposed certain standards for the release of the funds, capital improvements, things like that. But I don't recall anything specific Water Gap contributed to that.
okay. And the meeting on May 1st, that's at the Middle Smithfield Township,
Correct.
7 o'clock.
Is that one at seven?
Yes.
Yes, that one's at seven.
Be there.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Anyone else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Levenheim, I'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done at 7:19. Thank you, everyone.
Very well.